Welcome to another episode of Louisiana vs. All Y'all's Recruit That Boot. He's Sam Spiegelman. I'm Jarrett Roser. It is March, and as we mentioned last week, we have some Rivals camp stuff to preview. I was so excited I wanted to get to it last week, not realizing we had a whole extra week, but Sam will be in Houston this weekend with some top prospects from around the region and country, including many fantastic student athletes from Louisiana. We'll have a chance to talk with one of those guys today as well, Trey Martin, the newly minted 4-star for the Rivals Network, who will be out at camp this week. And so he's someone certainly Sam and the crew will have their eyes on. Again, a lot to get to, a lot of exciting stuff to get to, but we also wanted to get to, a little bit sadder of a subject too today, and just kind of share some thoughts on Devonta Lee, another player that we had the pleasure to cover through the years that is gone way too soon after his courageous battle with bone cancer. And so, let's kind of give him the top of the show a little bit. Sam, someone that obviously we enjoyed quite a bit when we had the chance, but thoughts on Devonta, what you will remember most about him and the opportunity to cover him coming through a meet and then obviously on to LSU and Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, what a joy to know him from, I think, his 9th grade year. Everyone was in a meet at one point to see his upperclassman teammate, Devonta Smith. And while covering Devonta, who is a definite candidate for one of the real GOATs of high school football in Louisiana all time, there was a young up-and-coming receiver that everyone was also talking about named Devonta. And watching Devonta kind of turn into that big-time receiver, that big-time playmaker that eventually signed with LSU but was coveted by Georgia and Alabama and Texas A&M and schools across the country, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Everyone was infatuated with Devonta Lee, who was, as a big-bodied athlete, also a basketball player, moved so well, so intentionally, had such playmaking ability after the catch, so physical, and just such athleticism that he showed not only at football but also playing hoops. But really the personality, he was just a big kid. I mean, we're not going to talk about his nickname on air.
Yeah.
But when you know it just makes you laugh when you meet the kid, and just how joyous his personality is. Everyone around him loved Devonta. I think I can speak for you and a lot of our colleagues that aren't on air with us. He was just a ball to cover, always an infectious happiness around him, and such a competitor as well. So much fun on Friday nights and watching him compete, and just so sad that he's been battling cancer for such a long period of time. But it's easy to understand why so many people are by his side and have him in their thoughts today, because cancer is awful. I don't need to say that out loud, but when it takes away one of the good ones, it's really hard to get over. And Devonta was just that.
I'm glad I smile when you mentioned the nickname dynamic. It was, I think, a lot of us on the media side who were, tapped in and close and have good relationships with folks, around the state, but certainly in Tangi, we were so, you and I love to kind of tout that kind of Tangi season and Tangipahoa Parish pride and all that. And so just being out there, and I think the first time being told, oh, you got to watch, we got a young receiver coming up, and then being told the nickname, is like, wait, what now? Let me get a real name, because I don't think I can put that in the paper. And then getting a chance to meet him and know him through the years. And I put something on Facebook the other day of he was involved in those kind of early bootleggers 7-on-7 trips that I had a chance to go take when I had a chance to start covering them on the road a little bit more frequently. The teams with Jamar Chase and company. And Devonta was out there making plays. Going up over anyone that wanted to line up across from him, he was going to go up and beat them for a ball and make a highlight reel play. But the thing that stands out most thinking back, and the thing that, other former players have kind of shared video clips of, have not been the highlights on the field. It's kind of the moments back at the hotel where he has the entire room in stitches, cracking them up, because he was the consummate clown in like the best way, just such a jokester that had everyone laughing. And so you remember those moments of him I mean, cracking himself up probably first and foremost, but then everyone else around him. And I know you and I kind of texted sometimes covering his recruitment where he would send like a message and like, I don't even know what to make of this. Like, he's so in joke mode. Like, I don't know what to take seriously from this or like how to react to it in like a what to write in the update type way. I messaged his mom, man, like it sucks so much. He's gone way too soon, but he touched everyone whose path he crossed and leaves such an incredible impact for such a short time. And like other guys that we've talked about on this show, it sucks so much to have some of the brightest lights of our community here gone so early, but just such an incredible reach at such a young age that so many guys have had a chance to have, and Devonta is right up there, chief among them.
No question, and well said. I can remember a 7-on-7 tournament at City Park, and I had not even left the parking lot to turn out of City Park, and Devonta had already called me, and now as a parent, it's obviously my first reaction is like shock and worry, but that's kind of my instinct. You know me very well, so I was like, oh my god, what could have happened? And he was like, yo, Sam, he's like, you get a chance to like edit those pics yet? And like I literally, man, like looked over and saw him getting in his own car with Trey Palmer at the time, and I was like, I just appreciate that you think I have that kind of capability. Like, I'm so impressed. It really sucks that we have to do this every couple of months for whatever reason. This one we have to obviously chalk up to the Big C, which is unfair, but his memory certainly won't be lost on a lot of us.
And I think hearing from, our guest, Trey Palmer, so apologies for having to pick up the phone and kind of update his coach on a timeline here. But I think one of my biggest lessons that I keep trying to take from these tragedies is, and it's something that even outside of these most serious and heaviest moments, I try to keep reminding myself that as bogged down as we get in kind of the work side of things and constantly, okay, what update do we need to do next? Where do I need to be, et cetera, and kind of stressed out with that I think we probably need to do a better job of kind of making sure we're in those moments and appreciating the opportunity to spend time with people, both work-wise and outside of it, to not let life pass us by as quickly as I think I look up sometimes and realize, man, where the hell did the last 6 months go? And so both to know how far too soon Devonta has been taken from us, and also to kind of learn from the way that he experienced life and the impact that he was able to make because he was in those moments. And I think that's been kind of one of, again, the biggest reminders to me in such a sad moment is to kind of, as much as some of these guys that we cover are asking us for advice and looking for a kind of, an example to be had in some ways, there's so much that we can learn from just the way that a guy like Devonta lived in his short time and kind of, made the most of all those moments.
I love that.
As we've had issues in the past, there's no smooth transition from these moments of remembering a guy, a Devonta that we've lost. There's no smooth transition from that to now talking about football. It seems really small now, as much as everyone's really excited about this Rivals camp coming up and all eyes are on it. It seems pretty small after the much heavier topics, but kind of awkwardly transitioning into some of the football that's on the horizon here. We'll get to Franklin Parish star Trey Martin here at the end, but I mentioned there's going to be a lot of Louisiana guys that are going to be at this camp this weekend. As you and your team over there at Rivals gear up for expectations? You know, what kind of stands out? Who are maybe some Louisiana guys that y'all are looking forward to in particular? What are you kind of watching for this weekend?
Yeah, I'm super excited. This will be my first in-person eval for Jaden Bayon out of Alexandria. Uh, has a case to be the number one defensive lineman in the state for the 2027 class. Obviously, the anchor of that very stout Alexandria defensive front and defense overall that we expect to have a nice run into the playoffs this year. TCU, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt recently extended an offer. He's a kid that I wouldn't be surprised if LSU threw an offer to this spring once they see him in person. He's a really talented kid. He's big and he moves well. I know that TCU is really high on him. I'm excited to get my first in-person eval. We're going to have Andrew Stoffstyle out of St. Paul's come in, big 2028 offensive lineman. A lot of schools have shown, a lot of the same schools, LSU, TCU, Tulane, have all hosted him for games. He's one of the bigger offensive line prospects in the state for the next year's class. So we're going to see how he competes with a really stout group of offensive linemen and defensive linemen that'll be in Houston. Javon Vital Jr. out of now Lake Charles College Prep will be there. Obviously, we know that Javon is one of the best in the country. Plays multiple positions. I'm hopeful he works out at running back, but certainly wouldn't be surprised to see if he takes snaps at wide receiver as well. He's obviously has some of the best schools in the country recruiting him: LSU, USC, Ole Miss. Houston is a serious contender for Javon. This will actually be my first in-person eval for Javon as well, and we know that his tape is some of the best in the country. Speaking of that theme, Louisiana, not only some great quarterbacks in this cycle, but also their two top running backs as well. Trey Martin, who we'll talk to here in a minute, a little bit about Rivals Camp. And then Jaden Miles from Baton Rouge Catholic are both expected to come in. My favorite thing about both these backs is obviously they're big and they're SEC-ready backs with their frames and their skill sets. Both are fantastic pass catchers in the camp setting. Both should have a chance to compete for MVP honors, but we really have some of the best 2027 and 28 running backs coming to this camp this weekend. So the competition is going to be stiff. It's going to be great to see how they stack up. Malachi Ziegler, the SMU commit from Benton, will be there. Second year in a row. He was fantastic last year, really part of a fantastic offseason that put him amongst the best in the country last year. We know that sometimes on tape, you can't always see what Malachi is capable of because the pieces around him aren't always up to snuff, especially up front protecting him. He really shines in these camps. You see a lot of receivers try to get in line when Malachi is throwing the rock. We're also going to have another Louisiana quarterback, Noah Antoine from Westgate's coming in, potentially a couple of his teammates, including Chance Archangel. Don't want to say that they're going to be there until they're officially signed up, but we're keeping an eye out for it. From an LSU theme, both legacy targets, Jalen Adai and BJ LaFell Jr. will be competing, a couple son of obviously Joseph Adai and Brandon LaFell. And we'll also have Manny Moses from University Lab. He's a longtime competitor. He's going to come back and compete. Very tough competitor. And Jaden Keelan, who was our combine invite last year in Dallas, tested out of the water in the 4.4s, picked up a slew of offers. He'll be back competing. We'll have Prentice, his teammate from John Curtis as well. We should have a really good showing. And hopefully we see Jaden Anding, who's also on that list. Jaden's the number one safety in the state for 2027, Rivals 300 prospect. Have not seen Jaden in the camp setting. We know he's a baller at safety, playing multiple positions in the secondary. Fantastic punt returner as well. Excited to see if he comes and works out because he could be one of the best safeties in attendance.
A lot of star power there, just from the boot making that trip over to Houston. And, you know, the amount of names, some of those names I think fans already know pretty well. We've talked about Malachi Ziegler a bunch, the quarterback from Benton. We've talked about Javon Vital, who, as you mentioned, is now over at Lake Charles College Prep. I think you are going to really enjoy seeing him in person, just absolutely electric wherever he wants to be. As much time as he spent at quarterback, watching him in some 7-on-7 settings at wide receiver and whatnot, he's every bit as dynamic as what you see on the film from his time at Hamilton Christian the past couple of years. We'll talk to Trey Martin here in a second. He and he and Jaden Miles have been so impressive as just well-rounded guys. We talked a week ago, I think, a week or two ago, I mentioned Jaden in a 7-on-7 setting. As much as we know him as a big, over 200-pound, strong, physical running back at Catholic, to watch him run around and show his well-rounded game, and then after catching like a 40-yard touchdown pass to help his F3 team win a tournament championship just a couple weeks ago, he's out there doing backflips and whatnot, just kind of continuing to show how impressively athletic he is at his size. Andrew Schofstall, I'm glad to hear you mention a guy that has started for St. Paul's up front since he was a freshman, and I think there's a good 2028 crew of Louisiana offensive linemen coming through, and he is as strong as anyone. And he's had some matchups. He's battled with Lamar Brown on the field when St. Paul's and U-High cross paths, and so he's had some real challenging matchups in pads and held his own at a young age, which says quite a lot about him and his development to this point. Looking forward to him. Another 2028 guy, you mentioned Jaden Keelan. I have loved watching the last couple of years and seeing some of the numbers he's able to put up on some 40 times in some camp settings thus far, on top of he is really thickly built and physical and aggressive as a DB, as physical and aggressive as there is of a young defensive back we have around the state right now. And him and Prentice and that Curtis secondary is loaded with some fantastic 2027, 2028, 2029 talent. So looking forward to watching the Patriots really all over the field, but certainly in the secondary for years to come. And I think you're going to have a lot of fun watching Jaden and Prentice compete here this weekend. I think you're going to see those Westgate kids come out. I know they're in the middle of a basketball, they're trying to go make a run and maybe win a basketball state championship, but I think Chance and some of those guys will indeed be out there. And man, what a rise on the recruiting trail Chance has had the last couple of years. Alabama, one of his most recent offers, I think was a huge one for him. LSU hasn't made the move yet, but I don't know that's not kind of a matter of time type situation as he gets going this offseason.
Yeah, he's an absolute stud. We're hoping that it works out, but yeah, we're excited to see the Wampville kids this year. They got a special group, and we also know that they're adding Karan Eugene to their secondary as well. He's enrolled in Wampville now, and from there, the arrow just points up, Jared, as you already know.
I'd heard the rumors of that. I didn't know if we had that official yet, but I don't know if it's been reported. If you've reported, if this is breaking news here to the Recruit That Boot fans, that they have another huge addition to that secondary. But yeah,
Studley.
What do you look for? And it's probably a little something different for each of these guys. I think, in some cases it's probably, hey, I want to see if this kid runs this 40 time and kind of checks that box. You obviously love to see the one-on-ones. When you go into this weekend, what are some of the things that you have in mind, the approach that you have in terms of what boxes you want to see checked from, even if you just pick, one or two of these guys that as examples of, this would be what we want to see from this guy. What's kind of the outlook for what you want to get from a camp/combine setting?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different for each position. Sure. One, you really want to size up a lot of these offensive and defensive linemen. You want to see what positions they are, how they're growing, what their frame looks like. Does it look like they can put on weight? Are they maxed out already? And you want to see how they compete. They're all going to take reps, and are they position versatile kids that can play inside, a little bit off the edge? Are they strictly inside? Are they strictly edge guys? Do they have a hand in the dirt? Are they in a 2-point stance? And you want to see them go against each other. You want to see who steps up. We'll have a lot of returning MVPs coming back who shined at the Rivals camp last year. And you're going to see them, the best of the best. Or, that's always the good gauge, is who's willing to take reps and who's thriving after and learning after each rep. So we're going to have a great quarterback group. Much like all these other things, you want to see which quarterbacks step to the front of the line and want to lead. That's one of the most pillar traits about quarterbacks is confidence and leading. And you want to see which guys want reps. You want to see, like I talked about Malachi, who wants to get thrown to by this quarterback. We're going to have some really great quarterbacks, including your boy Knox Kiffin, the new U-High quarterback. I think that name is pretty popular around Baton Rouge, I'm told. With receivers and DBs, this, especially it's similar in the 7-on-7 setting. not only do you want to see them competing for reps, you want to see, do they have some routes in the chamber? What are their moves? Are they grabby if they're DBs? Are they able to separate if they're receivers? Are they one trick ponies? Can they just beat you deep? Can they beat you running over the middle? Can they be a little elusive? Can they be a little bit physical? Can they just be an absolute baller and be a mismatch? And can you keep, if you're a DB, can you keep pace? Can you anticipate? Can you read routes? Can you stand alone in either press coverage, or if you want to play off, can you keep pace on the turn? So all these things, and the best thing is all these kids that come want to compete. They want to test, because verified numbers are important to know where you are in this process. And the kids that come and want to compete and take reps are the ones that can improve. Even if you're a 5-star, a 0-star, a 3-star, a 2.5-star, there's always room to get better. You have to keep getting better if you want to play at the next level. And then if you got to keep getting better if you want to play at the next level. And then you got to keep competing if you want to get to the next level. You catch my drift. So you want to see the kids that want to take reps, that want to learn, that want to compete, and want to keep getting better, because the only way to do that is competing and engaging where you're at and where you are against your peers.
And we'll go ahead and hear from one of those guys and get it from the athlete's perspective. Again, newly minted 4-star running back Trey Martin from Franklin Parish, a guy that has a lot of the college offers all over the country, the LSUs and Alabamas and company. And so excited to chat with Trey Martin of Franklin Parish. And there he is, as we mentioned, new 4-star for the Rivals Network, Trey Martin, the fantastic all-state running back there at Franklin Parish. He's been on the channel before. Folks have probably seen his interviews, but we're excited to welcome him to the Recruit That Boot show. One of the MVPs of the Louisiana versus All Y'all camp just a few weeks ago, and so excited to have him and gear up for this Rivals camp now. Trey, how's spring treating you so far, man?
Man, it's going good. Just starting to do track practice. We got a track meet coming up this upcoming week, Friday, Rivals this week. So, just preparing for all the camps and the other stuff that's going on.
Getting that speed up and ready for Sam and those guys out at Rivals camp. How has that part of it been going? Just kind of getting back into the routine of running and making sure you're prepared to run your best time when you're out there at camps.
It's going good, working on stance and start, like basically getting all the technique down, make sure I got my stance, my start right. So it's basically just working on that and make sure I'm coming out like perfect. So it's like I'm trying to get that 4.3, 4.2, somewhere around there. So it's going good.
What have been some of your times so far this track season, Trey, that you're pretty proud of, and what are your goals for your times by the end of the season?
So like a goal I got, so in this track season, I'm running the open 100. I did it last year. I ended up running 11.5, 11.2 around there. But track practice, we did like a little timing. I ended up running like a 10.8, 10.6. So I was like, man, like for that to be like that, I'm like, man, I'm ready for the year out counts. I'm ready to show these people like what I've been really working for. Like, so I believe that I can really hit a good number in this 40. Get a good time, good everything. So it's like just me going out there and, giving out. So that's going to be one of my biggest things right now.
And you and I talked about this, I guess, about a month ago. What was that? The 40 time from LSU was, I think, the big number that last year caught a lot of our attentions. What was that? And then for you, a guy that obviously is a fantastic football player in pads on Friday nights. What has it been like for you to recognize how important some of these numbers are? I probably need to go out there and run this or run that or whatever, just to kind of continue to check boxes for some of these reporters and more importantly, college coaches to just kind of embrace that piece of this process.
Like it's basically working on it. Keeping my speed up is very, it's gonna be always a good one for me because like every college recruiter tell me like, man, you got a lot of versatile. Like you're not just a running back. You can go anywhere. You can go to slot. So I work on like speed. So I don't want to just be stuck in the backfield running the ball. I want motion me out. I can run routes. So like I'm gonna be able to be a speedster. So it's always gonna be a good one to have speed. Be muscle wise. I'm big a little bit. So I'm gonna be able to do a lot of stuff around the field. So like what the college coaches tell me, like, man, you versatile, you can run, you can, you ain't scared to get hit, you're very physical. So it's like me keeping on my screen and make sure I got the speed with it and keeping like the moves I got, So it's basically just keeping everything, keeping every combos and running.
Yeah.
Well, Trey, you're not wrong. You outlined your game, and I think you basically explained why you're a top 10 running back in the country now. After like what we all said was just a spectacular entire junior season. You had a fantastic team, and you were the driving force of that offense, no question about it. You've had quite a list of schools come through Franklin Parish. You're putting that school was already on the map. Let's be honest, but you're making it a must stop for coaches, especially from the SEC this spring. What are some of the coaches that were coming by the school that have been recruiting you really hard now as the spring pops up?
The really hard that they coming through is really Tennessee, Ohio State, LSU. They recruit me hard since I'm a Louisiana boy. So it's them. Houston. Keeping contact with them. So it's a good variety of them. I respect all coaches. The ones that are really giving me an opportunity to continue to play at the next level. So I embrace it like every coach come through here, but those are some of the main ones that are really coming at me at the hardest. It's a lot of them, but like everybody, it once is only can be one. So it's like I'm gonna look at that one. Once I take my OVs and stuff like that, then I will make the decision.
Have you lined up any of those official visits or places that you want to get back to, or to the first time this spring?
I'm starting to line them up right now. Actually, I got a OV coming up in May. May Tennessee will be my first official visit. They'll probably be the 22nd through the 24th, and then after that, I got Houston and a couple more coming up that I'm planning to schedule.
Cool.
You mentioned having a lot of conversations with coaches, and also your pride and the ability to be a versatile weapon for an offense. What are some of the things you're learning about their offenses and trying to figure out about the fit? What are those conversations like with some of the coaches from these main schools recruiting you so heavily about just how they see you maybe working in their offense? And any examples that you can share about that and what they're saying and what you're looking for?
I'm looking for like an offense, a very offense that is very similar to ours, which is a spread. So a lot of teams that come from it actually spread teams, like because they want to create more one-on-ones. Like me, and once I get past the line, it's gonna be one-on-one with the safety, and I think I could do a good job at the one-on-one. So it's really just me looking for the offenses that fit me well, which would be spread. So if like it's a spread offense, then I'm looking at it because I want to create those one-on-ones. Because I feel like can't nobody tag me in open field, and if I do have to get through the line, it's gonna be hard. It ain't gonna be hard, but it's gonna be easy. So it's gonna be a good one.
Trey, I love your confidence. I think that's probably what makes you so special.
Yeah.
As you're obviously doing your homework on your offensive, like what's going to resemble Franklin Parish's offense. As you talk to these coaches, as you watch tape for yourself, you've obviously been to a lot of games. You're going to see some practices. You're doing your homework. Have there been any offensive schemes or fits that have caught your eye at some of these contenders?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of them. You got Tennessee. They run a very unique spread. LSU. Lane Kiffin got that spread that's going into LSU. I think that's gonna be a good one. Bama also and Ohio, because they always had these schools that I'm really looking at always had good running backs and they're doing good numbers. So and they have actually good coaches. And I want to be able to go to a school. I'm gonna learn and develop so I can get to the next level and not just be a college guy. I want to be also an NFL. All-American. So I mean, not an All-American, but what I'm trying to say. But
yeah, man, go be an All-American.
I'm gonna be an All-American. I'm gonna do all of that. But it's a lot of them. But Lane Kiffin, I like how he doing his offense as well. I like how they got the spreads and stuff like that.
From a personality standpoint, what has the recruiting process been like with Coach Kiffin and members of this new LSU offensive staff, Coach Smith? I know we saw the picture of you FaceTime with Coach Kiffin in his short showing off all that yoga work in the FaceTime with you. He's a different guy. He's an interesting guy. What is it like to be someone that he wants to be a part of the program, just in terms of his personality and the way he approaches those conversations with you?
Kevin always had a good unique bond. Like every time we call, we talk about great things. He let me know how LSU going, and I really thank him. For coming. The way he did. He left from LSU, and not LSU, level Ole Miss, to come down to LSU and try to change the perspective of the game, like, and for him to still hit me up and let me know that he actually wanted to bring me to LSU and want me there was great, because the things that he did are great, and for him to keep building, I probably look into that one.
Not only are you coveted by LSU, you've been to Bama a few times. I mean, obviously, you Trey, we're at the age where we can really remember LSU and Bama being arch rivals. I'm not sure. I feel like you're still so young. Maybe you don't know, but when they battle for prospects, it's usually the best in the country when they go head to head. What has been your experience getting recruited by Alabama, being a Louisiana kid, and what is the Crimson Tide program? Coach's name is slipping my mind at the moment, but tell me what this Alabama staff, Coach DeBoer, has done to make you feel like a priority over in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, they do a lot, man. Me and Coach G, we build a real bond. Like, there's somebody I can call. I call him right now. He gonna ask we'll be on the phone for about an hour, just kicking it. I call Coach DeBoer. Like he always got some funny words to say. It's like the relationship is like, it's not no bad relationship. It's just like they together. It's like, so at the end of the day, it's just be off a decision that I make. So like the relationship is there. Everything is there. Now it's just seeing what everybody has to offer.
We mentioned Franklin Parish becoming a must-stop for college coaches this time of year. And we go back a couple of years ago, Javion White kind of helped kick off what is becoming now a pipeline to major colleges. He signed with Tulane. He's now at Houston. Right now, we've got Pook Ellis, who's going to LSU, and a great 2026 class, obviously, and Tavon and Chris and company, a lot of guys getting opportunities. When you mention Houston and LSU in particular as two schools vying for your services, and two of those guys you've come up right behind, looking up to at Franklin Parish, what has been some of the advice from guys like a Javion, like a Pook, in terms of their experience and what they can share with you as you now take the forefront as a rising senior?
Man, they just let me know, like, don't get caught into all the recruitment. Go out and play a game, because at the end of the day, everybody have one goal. And in high school right now, I'm trying to win the state championship. I'm trying to get to the Superdome. So it's really just keeping the focus, the main focus, the focus. So it's like not letting everything overrun me. Staying focused and keep playing the game and not thinking everyone like that I'm bigger than anyone. Just stay humble and stay down and keep working.
Sam, you got anything more for him, or let this man get back to school?
Yeah, I don't want to be the person who keeps him out of school too long, though. I don't think Trey's going to fight me too much. Let's end on this, Trey. You and I are going to see each other. We're going to link up in a few days at Rivals Camp. We're obviously excited to have one of the best in the country come and compete. That says a lot about you and your goals for this year. You were already the MVP at the Louisiana versus All Y'all Camp. Talk about how that experience is kind of, gets your feet wet for something like Rivals Camp, where you're going to put your speed to the test, but you're also going to compete against some of the best linebackers and safeties in the country that are going to cover you.
It's good. I always wanted to go against the best. Like, I feel like the best, I always go against the best. Iron sharpen iron. So, I'm going to come there, I always work. So, like, this weekend, y'all going to see a lot of different stuff, like, just the running and running and running. Nah, you finna see some, different stuff. I've got a lot to give. So, y'all should be ready, keep your eyes open.
We're stoked about it, Trey.
There you go. Trey, thanks for your time, man.
We appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all, for real. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, man. Always a pleasure. Awesome stuff. Very exciting to have had Trey Martin join us today and kind of share some of that perspective. He's someone that I think more fans have started to kind of figure out who he is. The college coaches certainly have. And so he has continued to establish himself as one of the key members of this 2027 class around Louisiana. Looking forward to seeing the results from him and other Louisiana guys and LSU targets out there with Sam this weekend in Houston. Sam, appreciate you, man. Anything else that you want to share? Just kind of what folks should keep an eye on from you and the team covering this Rivals Camp this weekend.
Should be an awesome camp. We are absolutely loaded. We're going to have kids from Louisiana, Arkansas, all over Texas, South Texas, North Texas, East Texas, maybe even a couple of crazies from West Texas, Jarrett. I can't lie. I neglected to mention we'll have Shamar Evans, the newly enrolled stud linebacker at Ruston, one of these potentially difference-making pieces for Ruston as they look to get back to the state championship, reverse change history for next year when Ahmad Hudson and Jaden Anding and our seniors and Dalen Powell now have a teammate in that 2028 class as they push for a state championship. But that'll be our first look at Shamar and a lot of these Louisiana, Texas stud prospects right at the top of the offseason. Super exciting.
There you go. And we'll be back next week to talk about how some of it plays out, what some of the biggest takeaways from that camp are. Again, he's Sam Spiegelman. I'm Jarrett Roser. And until next time, thanks for watching Louisiana vs. All Y'all's Recruit That Boot, and y'all be well. Keep an eye on Sam and company out there at Rivals Camp.